Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Modern Warfare 3, the new Call of Duty dropping this fall that we've heard a little bit about up until this point. We've seen some strange leaks, some strange rumors surface over the past few months. It's a game that is probably going to launch in a very strange state, but also has a lot of potential to seriously turn things around. Obviously, going from MWIII 2019 and Warzone 1 to MWIII and Warzone 2 was not a smooth transition. A lot of players did not like the changes that were made between games, and that is very much so shown in the response to the games, the player base, the viewers on Twitch, on YouTube. Clearly, they're not as enjoyable to a lot of players as the old ones. Now, you might feel differently, and that's great for you. That's your opinion. That's your preference. But Warzone 2 right now is in a state where it could be drastically improved in the eyes of a lot of players. And Modern Warfare 3 really has the chance to, quote unquote, save Warzone 2. Today, I wanted to focus on a few things that really are finally going to get their opportunities to change with Modern Warfare 3 and the update that Warzone 2 is going to get for that, because it's drastic. There are a lot of things that happen year to year with a Call of Duty title, and now especially with Warzone, that are completely dependent on what the main game is. We saw this obviously throughout Black Ops Cold War and its integration with Warzone 1, and how at first it was very problematic and very buggy and broken because they were two different titles. Then we saw it again with Vanguard, where obviously things changed a decent amount as well with the attachments and the gunsmith system and all the stuff like that. So looking forward to the Warzone 2 Modern Warfare 3 integration. How exactly could this impact Warzone 2 as a whole? Well, it's a lot more than you might think. Initially, because Modern Warfare 3 is going to be its own brand new game, it's probably going to be its own separate application, right? Like, it's not going to be an update to MW2. As we know by now, it's no longer an expansion update. It is a full-on new game, single player, multiplayer, co-op of some sort. Zombies or Zombies Outbreak has been the rumor up until this point. So a separate multiplayer and a separate Warzone 2 experience. This, as I've talked about a handful of times recently, is a huge deal. Now, the downside is that you have to install more than one game, and these games are not small, so they do take up a significant amount of space on your hard drives. But if you're someone who's actively going back and forth between multiplayer or co-op and Warzone, it's probably worth it, right? And when they are separate experiences, this is great news for the state of each game. If one game has a major issue, say multiplayer is having problems but Warzone 2 is smooth, they can just update multiplayer and not interrupt anything going on in Warzone. Vice versa, if there's some major exploit going on in Warzone, but it's only in Warzone, they can pinpoint that and it'll be updated just for Warzone. You don't get any incidental problems caused because of an update in multiplayer, which is something that we see a lot of now. You know, a Warzone 2 bug gets fixed, but it causes 2 new bugs in multiplayer, and it's just a vicious cycle, right? So that in and of itself, the separate experience could be very, very good for the future of both games as you go throughout the year. Now, here's where things are actually going to be very good for Warzone in comparison to what we had throughout the integrations of Warzone 1 with Cold War and Vanguard. Basically, back then, Warzone 1 obviously built on the same engine as MW 2019. Those games were same application, same engine. They felt very fluid and basically the same, right? Then Cold War came along, and multiplayer of Cold War felt very different from Warzone 1 gameplay in terms of movement, how the weapons behaved. So then when they go ahead and they port all the Cold War elements into Warzone 1, they're different. The weapons look a little bit different. The weapons feel a little bit different. The operators look different. It's because they're on 2 different engines. Then obviously you have Vanguard, which was built on an upgraded version of the MW 2019 engine. So it was a little bit more similar, but still there were noticeable differences. Well, now everything in Call of Duty is going off of the new engine that's being used, or the upgraded engine that's being used for Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2. The future games moving forward, meaning Call of Duty 2023, Call of Duty 2024, are all based in the same engine. So that means any future integrations, like for instance Modern Warfare 3, is going to be a lot more similar to what you'd expect in the multiplayer version versus the Warzone version, and year to year it might not be as drastic of a difference as well. And you might hear that and say, well, that means we're just going to be stuck with Warzone 2 being like it is now, just with new content. And that's not necessarily the case. As we get into this, quick reminder, if you are new here or if you have not already subscribed yet, every single day I'm your one-stop shop for all things going on in COD, whether it's news, updates, leaks, rumors, loadouts, you name it, it's all right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and if you guys enjoy the video, let me know by dropping a like on it as well. It would be seriously appreciated, and it does really help the channel grow. But when it comes to, core gameplay dynamics, as we talked about previously, if we go into MW3 and it's got its own separate app, and Warzone 2 has its own separate app that we're obviously on now, they can finally go through and start changing things in Warzone 2 without impacting Modern Warfare 3. Right now, that can't really happen because MW2 and Warzone 2 are all on the same application. So you change it in Warzone, it changes in multiplayer, and then you're causing all sorts of issues that are unintended for one mode versus the other. But the separate app experience that we talked about at the start of the video really allows you to experiment more. So this means if they wanted to change the way that movement works in Warzone 2, they could during MW3. If the MW3 movement in multiplayer is a lot more smooth, doesn't necessarily mean there has to be slide canceling. It could just be like more aggressive movement, less penalties for ADS, for parachuting, for jumping, for doing whatever. It could just be a more fluid system. They could then start to tweak those things in Warzone 2 as well to make it more seamless between multiplayer and Warzone without completely breaking something elsewhere, since it's gonna basically be two different games. On that same sort of topic there, if they wanted to make drastic changes to the TTK, they could do so without having to worry about screwing up the entire weapon balancing system in one mode versus the other. So, in Warzone 2 right now, if they were to drastically change the health, they'd have to adjust the weapons accordingly to make certain things usable or make certain things not as dominant, but then they'd be impacting the multiplayer meta as well, which would be vastly different because of the health differences. So they can't really do that right now. MW3 though has the potential and has the opportunity to change that. So from a core and fundamental gameplay experience kind of POV here, MW3 could end up changing a ton for Warzone 2 if they wanted to. That's a big thing here. It's only dependent on what the devs think the best direction for the game is. Obviously, we'll have a lot of different views versus what the devs think is best for the game, as clearly shown throughout this year so far with various different things like red dots on the minimap, name tags on enemies, footstep audio, this, that, and whatever else, right? That's not all. MW3 could also be making other significant changes that could draw more players into the game and just make the experience a little bit more enjoyable overall. MW3, as we know via a lot of the rumors and a lot of the leaks so far, could have a lot of remastered content in it with various old throwback weapons from MW2, MW3, even COD 4. Again, that's just going off the leaks so far, but bringing back those nostalgia weapons, being able to use maybe the MW2 ACR, or the UMP, or the MW3, Bison, or MSR, whatever the case may be. That in and of itself could be enough to bring players back regardless of what gameplay is like, which would be cool to see. And then also, I know a big thing this year, obviously a big thing that players are not happy with in Warzone 2 is the amount of AI, the amount of bots. That's a big thing for MW2. That was a huge focus for Infinity Ward this year. And it's connected obviously to DMZ and Spec Ops and Campaign, all this AI technology that they implemented, they wanted to basically throw everywhere. If MW3 doesn't have that same feeling and the same need for AI, we could completely see that removed from Warzone 2, where you don't have to worry about it in the middle of a battle royale match as you're trying to rotate and suddenly there's 5 bots that only want to shoot at you for some reason, which I think that in and of itself could be a huge gameplay upgrade, more so than people might think, just because it could also reduce some stress on the servers. It can make things a little bit more smooth, like I said, for gameplay rotations and engagements. Overall, there is so much opportunity, so much potential for MW3 to completely turn things around for Warzone 2, and I really hope it happens. Obviously, only time is going to tell, but I did want to talk about the insane amount of potential there is for things to be drastically different. I know people are going to go into the year skeptical, saying it was a rushed game, saying I'm not buying anything after MW2, and at launch, I don't blame you at all. But if the game launches and it does actually make a solid impact on the state of the game and make it better, I'm hoping to see that that could actually turn things around in full and start to bring players back and start to make the overall experience a lot more enjoyable. That being said, that is going to wrap things up for this one. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications to always stay up to date with all things going on in COD. And if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL for a discount on all Gamer Advantage, G Fuel, and Control Freak products, and the links for all those can be found down in the description below. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.